All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us for tonight's team call. I am still recuperating a little bit. So if my voice is a little wonky, 10 hours of sleep for 4 days didn't really do me so well. But obviously, Summit was freaking amazing. You saw all the fun that we had. If you haven't decided yet to go to next year's Summit, make the decision now. Don't wait because just like when you decided to join as a coach, the longer you wait, the more excuses you come up with. So make a decision today, get the 130 price. If you're a new coach, like you just enrolled this month, if you hit Success Club for all 3 months, like your first 3 months, you'll actually earn a free ticket. What I would suggest is get this 130 price. If you do hit it for all 3 months, they will refund you your money. But after July 9th, I'm not sure what the price will be going up to. Maybe 150. I'm not really sure. Don't count me on that. But whatever, 130, it's the lowest price it's going to be. So Summit next year is going to be in the same place we were this year, which is in Indy. And as you guys saw, for me, it was my sixth Summit. It was the best one by far. And I've been to Vegas, Nashville, New Orleans. Like this one is the best in terms of location, food, of course, and just a great place for all of us to get together. And we didn't have to Uber anywhere. We Ubered one place because we wanted tamales, which are different for me. But get on board now, make a decision whether you are coming or not. If you need rooms, we all split rooms together. So, jump in our team page, see who wants to room. Typically, there are spots for like four people. There are some hotels that have like suites. I think at the Hilton, they said that they had an awesome suite, but really there's no bad hotel there. Everything is very walkable. So doesn't matter. Get on board. Tomorrow you can start picking your hotel rooms. Go through the Beachbody website so you get a good deal for the hotels. And there is so much information, guys, from Summit. I'm not going to go over everything. Shaun T's coming out with a new program. There's the new pumpkin spice flavor Shakeology that's coming out for like a month, I think they said, or I don't even know. At that point I was like, like information overload, right? But there's so much cool stuff coming up. So just pay attention in your Coach Online office. There's like that breaking news section. And then in the Coach 411 Beachbody group, all the information's in there too. It's floating around. So make sure, I'm sure you've seen it all, right? Everything else, I think you guys already know. Lift 4, the pre-sale is still happening until July 16th. After that, people will have to pay more and they will not get into Joel's test group. So make sure you're telling people that if they sign up with the discount membership as a coach, they get into Joel's test group. They sign up now, they get the better pricing. And they also get those 4 preview workouts to get them started. So I've been talking to a lot of people and they're like, oh, I'll just wait until July 16th. I'm like, you can, it'll cost more. You won't get into Joel's group. But then especially if you haven't been working out or you're going to be new to this HIIT thing or to even Joel's workout, it's a totally different ballgame than 80-day obsession. It's great to have those 4 workouts to do to kind of gear your body up and kind of change gears a little bit. If you've been doing 80-day obsession or obviously something else, those 4 workouts are going to be really great to just get everybody kind of used to it. And then July 16th, obviously, we have our team group. So throw everybody in there. If you want to run your own, absolutely, you can too. But if you want to put your people in and still participate in our group, right? Don't just throw people in and don't show up. People join you to see you. So make sure you're participating in that group as well. If you need to know where it is, just let one of us know and we can add you into that Lift 4 group for our team. All right. So what we were going to do tonight is kind of there's a few of us. Well, there's actually a lot of us on 31. That's pretty freaking awesome. Way to go, guys. Wanted to share a little bit about a tip or two that we learned from Summit. And while we can't really give you guys the experience because just being there really is the experience, there was one speaker that really spoke out to me. And that's what I really love about Summit is some of the personal development speakers that they bring on, like if you were to see these people at a different place, like it would cost you like a good grand or at least $500 to spend some time with them. But this is kind of like all included in Summit. Let me just pull it up. I think I did have it up here, but you know me with a million different windows. Okay, here it goes. And I even forgot the guy's name, but he was on TED Talk. Sean Aker. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. But I found his TED Talk, and he pretty much gave the same thing at Summit. It was a little bit longer, but I think the point was dead on. So this is 12 minutes. We're going to watch this together. At the end, we're going to do a little bit of action step afterwards, and then some of the other leaders and anybody else, seriously, we are all leaders if we went to Summit, right? We can share some tips. But this was one thing that really spoke to me at Summit. So I'm going to play it so you guys can hear it.
When I was 7 years old and my sister was just 5 years old, we were playing on top of a bunk bed. I was 2 years older than my sister at the time. I mean, I'm 2 years older than her now, but at the time that meant she had to do everything that I wanted to do, and I wanted to play war. So we were up on top of our bunk beds, and on one side of the bunk bed, I had put out all my G.I. Joe soldiers and weaponry, and on the other side were all my sister's Milos and ponies and ready for a cavalry charge. There are differing accounts of what actually happened that afternoon, but since my sister is not here with us today, let me tell you the true story. Which is my sister is a little bit on the clumsy side. And somehow, without any help or push from her older brother at all, suddenly Amy disappeared off the top of the bunk bed and landed with this crash on the floor. And I nervously peered over the side of the bed to see what had befallen my fallen sister and saw that she had landed painfully on her hands and knees on all fours on the ground. I was nervous because my parents had charged me with making sure that my sister and I played as safely and as quietly as possible. And seeing as how I had accidentally broken Amy's arm just 1 week before, heroically pushing her out of the way of an oncoming imaginary sniper bullet, for which I have yet to be thanked. I was trying as hard as I could. She didn't even see it coming. I was trying as hard as I could to be on my best behavior, and I saw my sister's face this wail of pain and suffering and surprise, threatening to erupt from her mouth and threatening to wake my parents from the long winter's nap for which they had settled. So I did the only thing my little frantic 7-year-old brain could think to do to avert this tragedy. And if you have children, you've seen this hundreds of times before. I said, Amy, wait, don't cry, don't cry. Did you see how you landed? No human lands on all fours like that. Amy, I think this means you're a unicorn. Now that was cheating because there's nothing in the world my sister would want more than not to be Amy the hurt 5-year-old little sister, but Amy the special unicorn. Of course, this was an option that was open to her brain at no point in the past. And you could see on my poor, manipulated sister's face conflict. As her little brain attempted to devote resources to feeling the pain and suffering surprise she just experienced, or contemplating her newfound identity as a unicorn. And the latter won out. Instead of crying, instead of ceasing our play, instead of waking my parents with all the negative consequences that would have ensued for me, instead, a smile spread across her face, and she scrambled right back up onto the bunk bed with all the grace of a baby unicorn. With one broken leg. What we stumbled across at this tender age of just 5 and 7, we had no idea at the time, was something that was going to be at the vanguard of a scientific revolution occurring 2 decades later in the way that we look at the human brain. What we had stumbled across is something called positive psychology, which is the reason that I'm here today and the reason that I wake up every morning. When I first started talking about this research outside of academia, out with companies and schools, the very first thing they said to never do is to start your talk with a graph. The very first thing I wanted to do is start my talk with a graph. This graph looks boring, but this graph is the reason that I get excited and wake up every morning. And this graph doesn't even mean anything. It's fake data. What we found is if I got this data back sitting you here in the room, I would be thrilled because there's very clearly a trend that's going on there, and that means that I can get published, which is all that really matters. The fact that there's one weird red dot that's up above the curve, there's one weird in the room, you know who you are, I saw you earlier. That's no problem. That's no problem, as most of you know, because I can just delete that dot. I can delete that dot because that's clearly a measurement error, and we know that's a measurement error because it's messing up my data. So one of the very first things that we teach people in economics and statistics and business and psychology courses is how, in a statistically valid way, do we eliminate the weirdos? How do we eliminate the outliers? So that we can find the line of best fit, which is fantastic if I'm trying to find out how many Advil the average person should be taking, too. But if I'm interested in potential, if I'm interested in your potential or for happiness or productivity or energy or creativity, what we're doing is we're creating the cult of the average with science. If I ask a question like how fast can the child learn how to read in a classroom, scientists change the answer to how fast does the average child learn how to read in that classroom? And then we tailor the class right towards the average. Now, if you fall below the average on this curve, then psychologists get thrilled, because that means you're either depressed or you have a disorder, or hopefully both. We're hoping for both, because our business model is if you come into a therapy session with one problem, we want to make sure you leave knowing you have 10. So you'll keep coming back over and over again. We'll go back into your childhood if necessary, but eventually what we want to do is to make you normal again. But normal is merely average. And what I posit, and what positive psychology posits, is that if we study what is merely average, we will remain merely average. Then instead of deleting those positive outliers, what I intentionally do is come into a population like this one and says, why? Why is it that some of you are so high above the curve in terms of your intellectual ability, athletic ability, musical ability, creativity, energy levels, your resiliency in the face of challenge, your sense of humor? Whatever it is, instead of deleting you, what I want to do is study you. Because maybe we can glean information, not just how to move people up to the average, but how we can move the entire average up at our companies and schools worldwide. The reason this graph is important to me is when I turn on the news, it seems like the majority of the information is not positive. In fact, it's negative. Most of it's about murder, corruption, diseases, natural disasters, and very quickly, my brain starts to think that's the accurate ratio of negative to positive in the world. What that's doing is creating something called the medical school syndrome, which if you know people who have been to medical school during the first year of medical training, as you read through a list of all the symptoms and diseases that could happen, suddenly you realize you have all of them. I have a brother-in-law named Bobo, which is a whole nother story. Bobo married Amy the unicorn. Bobo called me on the phone from Yale Medical School. And Bobo said, Sean, I have leprosy. Which even at Yale is extraordinarily rare. But I had no idea how to console poor Bobo because he had just gotten over an entire week of menopause. See, what we're finding is not necessarily the reality that shapes us, but the lens through which your brain views the world that shapes your reality. If we can change the lens, not only can we change your happiness, we can change every single educational and business outcome at the same time. When I applied to Harvard, I applied on a dare. I didn't expect to get in, and my family had no money for college. When I got a military scholarship 2 weeks later, they allowed me to go. Suddenly something that wasn't even a possibility became a reality. When I went there, I assumed everyone else would see it as a privilege as well, that they'd be excited to be there. Even if you're in a classroom full of people smarter than you, you'd be happy just to be in that classroom, which is what I felt. But what I found there is while some people experienced that, when I graduated after my 4 years and then spent the next 8 years living in the dorms with the students, Harvard asked me to, wasn't that guy. But what happened, I was an officer of Harvard to counsel students through the difficult 4 years. And what I found in my research, my teaching, is that these students, no matter how happy they were with the original success of getting into the school, 2 weeks later, their brains were focused not on the privilege of being there, nor on their philosophy or their physics. Their brain was focused on the competition, the workload, the hassles, the stresses, the complaints. When I first went in there, I walked into the freshman dining hall, which is where my friends from Waco, Texas, which is where I grew up, I know some of you have heard of it. When they come to visit me, they look around, they say, this freshman dining hall looks like something out of Hogwarts from the movie Harry Potter, which it does. This is Hogwarts from the movie Harry Potter, and that's Harvard. And when they see this, they say, Sean, why do you waste your time studying happiness at Harvard? Seriously, what does a Harvard student possibly have to be unhappy about? Embedded within that question is the key to understanding the science of happiness. Because what that question assumes is that our external world is predictive of our happiness levels. When in reality, if I know everything about your external world, I can only predict 10% of your long-term happiness. 90% of your long-term happiness is predicted not by the external world, but by the way your brain processes the world. And if we change it, if we change our formula for happiness and success, what we can do is change the way that we can then affect reality. What we found is that only 25% of job successes are predicted by IQ. 75% of job successes are predicted by your optimism levels, your social support, and your ability to see stress as a challenge instead of as a threat. I talked to a boarding school up in New England, probably the most prestigious boarding school, and they said, we already know that. So every year, instead of just teaching our students, we also have a wellness week, and we're so excited. Monday night, we have the world's leading expert coming in to speak about adolescent depression. Tuesday night is school violence and bullying. Wednesday night is eating disorders. Thursday night is illicit drug use. And Friday night, we're trying to decide between risky sex or happiness. I said, that's most people's Friday night. which I'm glad you liked, but they did not like that at all. Silence on the phone. And into the silence, I said, I'd be happy to speak to your school, but just, that's not a wellness week. That's a sickness week. What you've done is you've outlined all the negative things that can happen, but not talked about the positive. The absence of disease is not health. Here's how we get to health. We need to reverse the formula for happiness and success. In the past 3 years, I've traveled to 45 different countries, working with schools and companies in the midst of an economic downturn. And what I found is that most companies and schools follow a formula for success, which is this: if I work harder, I'll be more successful. And if I'm more successful, then I'll be happier. That undergirds most of our parenting styles, our managing styles, the way that we motivate our behavior. And the problem is it's scientifically broken and backwards for 2 reasons. First, every time your brain has a success, you just change the goalpost of what success looked like. You got good grades, now you have to get better grades. You got into a good school, now you have to get a better school. You got a good job, now you have to get a better job. You hit your sales target, we're going to change your sales target. And if happiness is on the opposite side of success, your brain never gets there. What we've done is we've pushed happiness over the cognitive horizon as a society. And that's because we think we have to be successful, then we'll be happier. But the real problem is our brains work in the opposite order. If you can raise somebody's level of positivity in the present, then their brain experiences what we now call a happiness advantage, which is your brain at positive performs significantly better than it does at negative, neutral, or stressed. Your intelligence rises, your creativity rises, your energy levels rise. In fact, what we found is that every single business outcome improves. Your brain at positive is 31% more productive than your brain at negative, neutral, or stressed. You're 37% better at sales. Doctors are 19% faster, more accurate at coming up with the correct diagnosis when positive instead of negative, neutral, or stressed, which means we can reverse the formula. If we can find a way of becoming positive in the present, then our brains work even more successfully as we're able to work harder, faster, and more intelligently. What we need to be able to do is reverse this formula so we can start to see what our brains are actually capable of. Because dopamine, which floods into your system when you're positive, has 2 functions. Not only does it make you happier, it turns on all the learning centers in your brain, allowing you to adapt to the world in a different way. We found that there are ways you can train your brain to be able to become more positive. In just a 2-minute span of time, done for 21 days in a row, we can actually rewire your brain, allowing your brain to actually work more optimistically and more successfully. We've done these things in research now in every single company that I've worked with, getting them to write down 3 new things that they're grateful for 21 days in a row, 3 new things each day. And at the end of that, their brain starts to retain a pattern of scanning the world not for the negative, but for the positive first. Journaling about one positive experience you've had over the past 24 hours allows your brain to relive it. Exercise teaches your brain that your behavior matters. We find that meditation allows your brain to get over the cultural ADHD that we've been creating by trying to do multiple tasks at once, allows our brains to focus on the task at hand. And finally, random acts of kindness or conscious acts of kindness. We get people, when they open up their inbox, to write one positive email praising or thanking somebody in their social support network. And by doing these activities and by training your brain, just like we train our bodies, what we found is we can reverse the formula for happiness and success, and in doing so, not only create ripples of positivity, but create a real revolution. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that guy talked like super fast, probably faster than me. And you're probably thinking, okay, cool, awesome, fun. What the hell does this have to do with Beachbody coaching? Probably about like everything. For me, it really just stuck out that like we have to put our happiness first with our goals, with our business, with our family. Everything starts with that. And I think, like he said, like we always say, until we reach this, then we'll be happy. Until I reach this rank, until I reach this income, until I reach da-da-da-da-da, then I'll be happy. And it's like, no, we got it all freaking wrong. And like, we need to be that positivity for people, and everything else will fall into place. The challenge packs, your coaches, your team. Like, so I really loved what he said at the end. If you caught it, he said, if you do 2 minutes for 21 days of gratitude, 3 new things. And at Summit, he said 3 new things and the why. So not just like, I'm grateful for my house, I'm grateful for my husband, I'm grateful for my kids. Like, no, why are you grateful for them that day? And coming up with 3 new things every single day with that why. Because like he said, you're going to scan your brain, you're going to relive it. You're going to start with that happiness first, and then everything else that you do during your day. So like typically doing this in the beginning of the day is best. That way, like you start your day out with a good foundation. It's going to affect you. If you feel good and you invite people, guess what? You're sending that energy out. You're going to be inviting more people. You're not going to start inviting with like that fear of like, ooh, this and ooh, that. Like, I don't want to message people. No, like if you feel good, you're going to freaking invite people, right? Like it just makes absolute sense. So what we're going to do for 2 minutes is go into the chat box right here. And I want you guys to give me 3 things that you're grateful for and why. So for example, I can say I'm grateful for my job as a coach because it gave me the freedom to take a nap as soon as I woke up because I'm extremely tired, right? So 2 minutes, I'll put it on the clock. Give us 3 things that you're grateful for today and why you're grateful for them. So it's 8:57. We'll say at 9 o'clock. And I'll do it too. See, it's putting a smile on my face reading all of this, right? Like it makes you feel good. All right, so if you didn't add yours in, keep them coming. I'm going to pass it on to somebody else, whether your thing that you learned at Summit was the same thing as me, or you guys want to share another tip. Whoever wants to unmute yourselves, if you're at Summit and wants to share, or if you watched something live from Summit and you want to share.
I'll share.
You got it.
Hey guys. So one of the things that I wrote down, and I have my notes out here, and I probably shouldn't have volunteered so quickly. But one of the things with him, and maybe I missed this because I wasn't on the first part of the call, but when they were talking about, being that light and how lightning bugs are more successful together than they are apart. Did you guys already talk about this?
No, but good point. Keep going.
Okay, sorry. Just making sure. So so that same guy was talking about how they studied lightning bugs, and if you guys look around, you usually see lightning bugs. They'll light up one at a time and kind of spurts, right? And there's actually two places in the world where lightning bugs light up all at the same time. And like, I should probably go Google image it because I feel like that image alone, it makes me think of like one tree with a whole bunch of sparkle lights on it, right? Like, or twinkle lights. And the point was, and it was kind of funny because why lightning bugs light up is because they're gonna, they're gonna have a happy time. They're looking for a mate, and they're more successful in their endeavors when they are lit up. So when they are all lit up, they tend to reproduce more lightning bugs than when they're lighting up individually and sporadically. And so the point of that was not to talk about lightning bugs reproducing, but that we shine brighter together. And that, I think, is something that has always been with me on this journey. I think that as a team with our challengers, there's a reason that there's so much power in doing all of this as a group. It kind of gives me goosebumps. And that really just resonated with me so much because it's all about, empowering people to take charge of feeling their best, and, how much more powerful that is when we can do it together. So that's one of the things that just really, that really stuck with me, and is something that I will definitely continue to carry forward. And I thought it was funny to learn about lightning bugs.
Yeah, no, I love that point. And especially like when we're all like in the arena together and like had the lights on, it's like when you're at a concert and you're like, this is freaking awesome. Who's up next?
I can share.
You're good.
Good. Okay. So one of the things that really stuck out to me, and that on the plane home I was like excited about to do, and I felt like I had something tangible I could do for myself, is how to have an effective business plan. So we hear that if you want this to be a business, you have to treat it like a business. I know that I was guilty of kind of just winging it, like I'll do this post tonight, and just kind of going with it without having a set plan. And now, especially because I'm home all day with 3 kids, I thought I was going to have way more time for coaching because I didn't have my full-time job, but I actually have a lot less time for coaching. So it's important to kind of plan out my day so that I have set times and I know what I'm doing. So a couple of the top coaches shared what their plans look like for their day. So I kind of mirrored some of that, but like made it fit my life. But one of the things I really liked that they put in there was they scheduled time to unplug, because it can be really overwhelming if you're constantly checking your phone and responding to messages, and especially if you have kids or a job or something else you need to be focusing on. It can become a distraction. So I've like penciled in these blocks of times that I'm unplugged, but I've also penciled in times that I'm getting my workout in, that I'm doing my invites, times after they go to bed for team calls, for things, they call it like project time, for trainings and different things. So just kind of like quickly, I'll read through like what my schedule looks like, but I encourage you guys to like write down a schedule. Obviously you can't stick to it every single day, and it's not always going to look like that. But at least for me, the structure helps a lot. So ideally I would wake up before the kids from like 5:30 to 6:30 a.m., work out, meditate, affirmations, all those things that I know start my day positive. 7 to 8, kind of just like relax with the kids, maybe do some PD or listen to some things if I can. 8 to 12 would be like a huge block of time that I'm just unplugged. I'm either running errands or playing with the kids, cleaning the house. I'm not checking my phone. And then nap time, like a nap time hustle where I can do the important things first, invite, messages, follow-ups. And then it kind of goes on so on with time at the end of the day to do some more coaching things like this, like team calls. So if you want it to be a business, treat it like one, create hours for yourself. And I'm sure that you will see more success in your business if you're carving out the time for it.
Thanks, Carrie.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Like having those business hours, especially like during the summer, because you're like, I have the time, and time just like goes right by. And you're like, I didn't do anything. So yeah, absolutely key. And because like, yeah, we want to honor our family. Like I think I think all of our goals too, like, is having our families be a part of this. Like we're doing this for them so that we can leave a legacy, we can leave something financially for them, but we obviously want to be present with them too. So be present with your business and business hours, and be present with your family during family hours. Great point. Who's up next?
Okay. So I don't remember who said this, but I wrote it down. And it was talking about like how we always say this is an opportunity for us. And this is not my opportunity, this is my responsibility. So you've committed to it, I've committed to coaching, and then, sometimes you can put it on the back burner. But if you make it a responsibility and show up every day, you're going to be successful in it. But you have to treat it like it's a responsibility, like it's every other, chore that you do in the house. Just something that you're going to do every day no matter what. So I have that written down and written all over because I really like that. So, I mean, that's really one of my favorite things I got from it, because we're always quick to say, oh, this is a great opportunity, but sometimes opportunities don't always go as far along as you want because you find something else in the way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was like, it made me think too that like at a job, if you didn't do your job, you would get fired. With this, because you're your own boss, you can't necessarily fire yourself. So you give yourself, like you said, that like leeway of like, this is an opportunity. But when you make it into like, no, like this is your freaking responsibility, like you do it and that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like it really just like flips your mindset on it. So I love that. That was a good one. Who's up next?
I'll go. So many good things that I got from it. It's hard to make a decision on what to share, but two different things stood out to me I'll share them in two different ways. The first is in the leadership workshop that I attended. One of the coaches talked about how she said a team is not limited by its members, but by its leader. And I really liked this more so because I know that for a long time as a coach myself, that I kind of played that role that I was like, oh, I wish I had working coaches. I wish I had coaches that wanted to like build. I wish I wanted to do this. And I almost pointed fingers like at the others, right? Like my team that wasn't what I wanted it to be or whatever, right? But it's nothing to do with your team. It's you as a leader, right? Like you lead the pack. So you make the decisions on how you're going to lead your team and the mindset that you're going to have and the type of people that you're going to recruit and how you convey that in your social media posts. It's really about like you leading from the front. And I really, really liked that how she decided to use that. And as example, she said, making sure that you're always working on your mindset, that you're investing in yourself. So working on skills as a leader to bring your leadership skills to the next level, not just personal development, business skills, learning how to public speak better, attending personal development seminars, things like that. And I really like that. So that was one thing. I want to share one other thing because for me personally, this was the biggest thing that I heard that made an impact too. And someone said that this was actually by Julie Voris, and it was at the leadership workshop too. She said that in the early part of her coaching, not in the early part, like after she started to see some success from her business, but she was maybe still like a little scared or a little bit unsure or not confident. She just had to make a decision. right? And she just had to decide. And she said, I put a stake in the ground and I put my blinders on. And it really resonated with me because it made me feel like no matter what anybody else is doing, no matter what any other coaches are doing, no matter how short or long other coaches are doing, I can decide exactly how I want to lead my team and what I want for my own self and what goals that we have. And I can just decide and just go. And that was really powerful for me, in that it's really comes down to a decision that you make at any point that can be for you at any point of coaching for any goals that you want. It's really powerful because I think that is kind of how we started as a customer, right? Like we just made a decision one day, enough was enough. And often in coaching, we don't make those decisions for our business. We kind of coast along for a long time, and you can make the same decisions in your business. So those two things were really, really awesome. I liked hearing those.
Love it. Good stuff, guys. Let's see a few more. Don't let me call names out.
Hey, ladies, how are you?
Good. We got time.
I was just talking to Christina about it. The first one we won about money and everything with, hold on 1 second, drawing a blank, Natalie Taylor. And she was showing how to break down your business and that the business should work for you. And then she was saying to set your goals and set a high goal, but have little small goals and work toward there. And that's what I've been working with Christina on, like just saying, let's have a big goal. Let's be a diamond next year when we go there. But let's get more coaches on slowly but surely and reach out to different things. So that's what we've been working on. I'm going to post on the team page her presentation that she gave us. There's a password and everything, but I forgot to post that when I was there. So, well, Christina can't talk much. She's just coughing all night.
Thanks, Todd. No, I think that's great. Yeah, make those big goals, but then you need something to break it down to actually reach it so it's not so far away that you're like, am I making any traction on it or what?
Am I ever going to get there or anything?
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thanks. And yes, guys, like bring your husbands to stuff. Oh, we don't bite. Todd did amazing, and he took pictures for Christina. They worked out as a team, so that was awesome seeing them do that together.
I'll go. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I liked that there was somebody talking about creating more of like a mystery. So I'm going to be working more about instead of like, I never really posted like, hey, I'm doing, I would talk about doing an 8-day, but I never like flat out said like what programs I was exactly doing. Cause I know you're not supposed to just like, shove the product in the face, but I'm going to be more intentional. And they talked about, being more intentional with your posting and how to give a little bit more of mystery along with, asking questions so that people can interact with you more, because it's, this whole business is a lot about, getting feedback, having people interact so that you can also restart conversations with people about this. I've had a lot of success with like, for instance, I posted before I left about, oh guys, what dress do I got? I got like 140 something likes on one dress. And I started up some really great conversations with people and like, oh, what are you doing? We got to catch up so that, even though it's not directly Beachbody, related, that you're starting up these conversations to regain like talking with people and building conversations to kind of get to that point, to see what they're doing, to see, because everybody's looking to change something, right? More times than not, there are tons of people looking for help. And then another part is I liked that someone was saying about having, a clear vision for your business and what else? And that, somebody said something about having, what was it? Like no plan B. Like if you guys are working this business, that you need to treat it like a business, like I think Leah said, but really just there are no other options, so that you just work and do what you need to do. Make sure you get your vital behaviors in. And like, I constantly have a list. Like before I came here, I have a list of things that I wanted to do with my business, which I kind of got down to, but then constantly always adding to it. And that was what another person said, is that at this job, you're always be a student, that, you know, you're never going to be perfect at everything, and that there's always something that you're going to want to learn and grow at. So that always keeping an open mind to how you can do something better or what's working, because everything is always changing, was really important for me. And I think that was it. But I think I just really needed to hear, like, because I feel like all I keep doing is listening to new videos, new things, and trying to like keep learning and growing. But I'm like, am I doing this right or whatever? Just to remind myself that I need to continue to grow, and as a person, I've grown as well. So that's what I got.
Love it. Great points. And it's funny, like we're all at the same event, right? But like some of us hear certain things and others that like doesn't. So hearing some things like, I really like what you said, like be a mystery in your post. Like you don't want to just put everything all out there, because then people are like, all right, I know what she's doing, I'm going to go like Google it, right? But when you're being a mystery, like people have to start a conversation with you and be like, what is that? What are you doing? Like, and I really like how you said that. So cool. Thanks. I know we have a few more that were there.
I'll go. One of the things that, let's see, I think this was Melanie Mitro actually, in her session on Saturday morning. She was talking about going from relentless to refined. And so one of the quotes I wrote down from her was, stay where we are at or learn from our mistakes and grow. And I think that's something that hit me really hard, is that like, even if you fail in the past, you know, it doesn't have to define you. Like you can still pick yourself back up and keep moving. So like, even though I may not be where I want to be in my business, like I can still, like, I don't have to just give it up. I can keep going and move forward. And so let's see. The other quote I really liked is, she said, the number of failures you have is more than the number of successes, because you are learning. So like, you always probably hear like fail forward, like you're going to have to put yourself out there and invite and get a lot of no's and fail the first time, but we always get those people that will say yes eventually. So just putting yourself out there and failing forward is really important.
Love it. Thanks, Ellie. Anyone else? Or if you weren't, all right.
So I actually did not really take a lot of notes. I was just kind of there soaking everything in. So there's not really just like one specific thing that I learned. There was one quote though that guy, I forget his name, he said about, if you're standing at the base of a mountain by yourself, it looks so much taller than if you're standing next to somebody at the same mountain. So I thought that was just really kind of fitting with us and our coaching team and us and our challengers, how much easier this is when you're in it with other people. So that was like my one like big takeaway quote that I really liked. But just overall, I think the whole theme of the summit, Believe in You, was that was my takeaway. Like 3 months ago, I would not have thought that I could be an 8-star diamond, and I wouldn't be looking ahead to that. I would be like, oh yeah, that's great for them. I wonder what they're doing. But my takeaway was, they're all doing what we're doing. Like there's nothing special about them. They're not doing anything different. It's just the belief in yourself, the belief that you can do it. So that was my whole takeaway from Summit. Like, I know that I can do it. I know that you guys can do it. You just have to work for it. You know, I heard someone that was an emerald at the last Summit, just go to 8-star for this Summit. There was someone that was a diamond last Summit that went to 15-star diamond this Summit. So it's totally possible. I think we make it so much harder on ourselves than it has to be. So just believe in yourself and you can do it.
Absolutely. Like, why not us, right? Why not us? Ashley LaFrance is on. Why not you? Anybody else? Or even if you have questions?
I'll share for just a minute. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're great.
Okay. So this was my first summit, and a little bit of what I took away for me personally was it really helped build my self-confidence as a coach. And one of the things in one of the workshops that they talked about was the fear factor. And one of the quotes I wrote down is where she said, "Fear makes it all about you, but our business is about helping others." And basically she shared, your story is your story, and you are the expert on your story. No one else is an expert on your story, and your experiences. And it's just important to just share your experiences with those that might be interested, or those around you that you can help to make a difference with. So that was really huge for me. In the same session, she talked about, when responding to others, using the feel, felt, found method. And basically when you respond to people, establish trust and common ground with them first. Make sure you really listen and empathize. And then she also said to then next share about how maybe you have been through that, or someone else that has been through it. So that's the felt component. And then how did you overcome it, or how did they overcome it? And that's the found component. And so she said there's no way to come across genuine. You have to really be genuine. So those are some things that really helped me in just, developing a better confidence in sharing with others. And, when they ask me questions, not being intimidated if I don't know all the answers right away, but just sharing my story, sharing how it's helped me, and then helping find what will work for them.
Great points. Fear makes it all about you.
Can I say one more thing? Because she just reminded me something that I really liked that somebody had said, I think it was in that same speech, that, we don't have any obstacles, but that, so if you can't relate to somebody else's story, like, if you're like, single and you're by yourself and you're talking to maybe like a mom, you can say, oh, and they're like, oh, well, I don't have any time to do this business. And you can use somebody else's story to relate to, I'm trying to think of how to word it, but you know what I mean? Like how to relate to some other person. If you can't personally relate to the person that you're talking to, like if you're single and the other person has kids and they're trying to say, I don't have any kids, or I have kids and I can't do this business, where you could say, hey, Lisa Humphreys, Missy Miss, is got 2 kids, 1 on the way. She works this business and she's killing it, so that you can use, other people's testimonies as a way to relate to people, not just using your own.
Yeah, I think that's like especially good for new coaches when you don't feel like you have a story, or like if you're not a mom, or if you're not this, you're not that, whatever. Like you can always use somebody else's story, whether it's from our team or listening to National Wake Up Call or being at Summit and hearing somebody else. Like you can always use those stories. And the reason why we use and share and talk about, like, tell your story, post your story, that just connects people, right? It makes them feel that they can be in your shoes and do this too, or they can be in that other person's shoe and do it too. Anyone else? Last call. All right, so show of hands, who's going to be at Summit 2019? Who's like iffy? Tara's like, no. Anna's like, nah. All right, girls. Well, you have an entire year, but if you're drawing that line in the sand, make sure you get your ticket. Super Saturday will be July 7th, or Super Sunday for Philly, our area, is July 8th. I know it's kind of like the holiday weekend, but like if you are intimidated about going to like a bigger event, something like Summit, I think going to a Super Sunday kind of like shows you like a mini Summit. It's not going to cost you much money. I mean, maybe an hour of driving. I mean, I drive, like mine's like an hour and a half to go to Summit in Philly. But that's just another great event where you're going to get little nuggets like this. You're going to be around. Hopefully you're in an area with where our team is. If not, you're going to be around other Beachbody coaches, and we're all kind of like family anyway. So make sure if you're not sure about going to Summit, or if you miss Summit this time around and you're like feeling major FOMO, get to Super Saturday or Super Sunday, July 7th or July 8th. If you want to know a local one in your area, go in your Coach Online office. You can kind of Google map it and see what one's closest to you. But for the Jersey, Philly area, it's right in Philadelphia. It's super easy to get to. All right, I think we're good. All right, great. Everyone have a great night. Everyone get some sleep. I'm going to get some sleep. Thanks for showing up. Have a great night.